Episode 7. Grand Duel. Zoro the Swordsman vs. Kabaji the Acrobat. Zoro and Nami arrive just as the mayor declares that he will fight Buggy, but Luffy knocks him unconscious. After Luffy calls Buggy a big nose, Buggy orders that Luffy be blown to smithereens with Buggy balls, and the cannoneer opens fire. Luffy uses Gamu Gamu no balloon to bounce the bomb back at them, blowing up the building that the Buggy pirates are standing on. Buggy, however, protects himself from the explosion by using 2 of his men as a shield. Kabaji protects himself with Richie, making Moji angry, and he attacks Kabaji. Kabaji sends him flying with a kick, and Luffy then knocks Moji out of the air. Buggy orders Kabaji to kill Luffy, but as Kabaji charges on his unicycle, drawing his sword, Zoro blocks the attack, claiming that he will be Kabaji's opponent. Kabaji and Zoro quickly begin their duel. Kabaji takes advantage of Zoro's earlier wound and kicks him repeatedly in the side, which makes Zoro fall. Zoro gets up, though, refusing to lose, and the fight continues. Kabaji uses a series of carnival tricks, and he charges right at Zoro, slashing him in the side. Zoro stays standing as Nami decides to leave. Kabaji uses a series of tops as a distraction before riding up the side of a building, leaping off of the top, and descending rapidly with his sword pointed down at Zoro. Buggy then launches his hand to grab Zoro's foot and hold him, but Luffy stomps on Buggy's hand to stop it. Zoro leaps out of the way of Kabaji's attack just in time. Meanwhile, Nami sneaks past a drunken pirate and starts stealing Buggy's treasure, knocking the drunk pirate out when he finds she is there. Zoro gets up to face Kabaji one last time, and they charge at each other. Zoro uses Onigiri to take out Kabaji with one slash. He then collapses, and Luffy says he will take care of the rest. He and Buggy prepare to face off, and Buggy says how Luffy's straw hat reminds him of a man he hates. Luffy realizes this is Shanks, and says he will pound the answers to his questions out of Buggy. Buggy draws his knives and uses Bara Bara Japanese cracker, but Luffy narrowly avoids it. Luffy retaliates with Gamu Gamu no pistol, but Buggy dodges it, leaving Luffy wide open. Luffy then uses Gamu Gamu no sickle, and Buggy uses Bara Bara emergency escape to dodge yet again, sending Luffy smashing into a building. Luffy emerges from the rubble, and Buggy uses Bara Bara cannon, knocking back Luffy. Luffy becomes livid when he finds that his hat has been nicked. Buggy realizes the hat is precious to Luffy, so he attacks again, this time managing to stab right through the hat and take it. Luffy remembers his past with Shanks and yells at Buggy to return his treasure. Buggy then expresses how much he loathes Shanks and that he will curse him for the rest of his life as the episode ends. Episode 8. Who will win? Showdown between the true powers of the Devil Fruit. The episode opens a recap of the previous episode and with Buggy claiming he can call Shanks whatever he wants. His flashback begins with a young Buggy and Shanks in an argument about which of the North Pole and South Pole is colder. After being separated by another crew member, their pirate ship attacks another vessel. Buggy cuts down one of the people aboard the vessel and finds a treasure map in his shirt, and he keeps the map a secret. Later, after a party, Shanks and Buggy sit together, and Shanks mentions how he will start his own pirate crew. He then tells Buggy about the devil fruit and its value, so Buggy plans to steal it. Buggy eats a fake devil fruit in front of everyone while keeping the real one hidden so he can sell it for 100 million. However, Shanks finds him and surprises Buggy, so Buggy jams the devil fruit in his mouth. After being surprised again, he accidentally swallows it. Buggy is livid about swallowing the fruit, and as he yells at Shanks, his map flutters into the water. Buggy dives in after it, but he can no longer swim, so Shanks saves him. Present time. Luffy says that Shanks saved Buggy's life, but Buggy refuses to accept it and says his plan was delayed for 10 years. His upper body then separates and rises up, and he spots Nami stealing his treasure. He goes after her, but Luffy kicks Buggy's lower body in the groin. Buggy collapses, and even more frustrated after he hears what Nami has said about keeping his treasure for herself. He uses Bara Bara Festival, his body parts flying around everywhere. Luffy grabs one of his feet and tickles it, pulling on it, really messing Buggy up. When Buggy attempts to rejoin with the rest of his body, his head, feet, and hands come together, but the rest of his body parts are tied up by Nami. Luffy then uses Gamu Gamu no Bazooka to send Buggy flying, and he is defeated. The townspeople, led by Poro, come and find much of the town in ruins and Boodle unconscious, so they turn on Luffy, Nami, and Zoro. Luffy mentions that they are pirates, so the townspeople chase after them. However, when running down an alleyway, Chowchu stops the townspeople by barking at them. Luffy, Nami, and Zoro come up to their boat and Nami's stolen ship, and the tightrope walking fun and bros from before emerge from the ship. When seeing Zoro, however, they flee. Nami jumps into her stolen ship while Luffy and Zoro get into their boat, and they sail away as a new crew. As they are leaving, the mayor comes to, scolding the townspeople for chasing away Luffy and his friends, and he yells thanks to them. Nami then becomes angry with Luffy when she finds out he left behind half of her treasure to help pay for the town's repairs. Zoro laughs it off, while Nami tries to drown Luffy for being too kind. In another location, we see a familiar long-nosed young man standing proud as the episode ends. Episode 9. Honorable Liar. Captain Usopp. Nami forms an alliance with the crew as their navigator. The crew arrives at the Syrup village in search of a proper ship. They meet a boy named Usopp who is the town liar, and who is the son of one of Shanks' crewmates. The episode opens with Usopp running through Syrup village, yelling that pirates are coming. Meanwhile, on the sea, Nami mentions how they'll need a ship if they want to make it to the Grand Line. At Syrup village, Usopp says that what he said before was a lie, so the townspeople get mad at him. He runs away and meets with Paimon and Ninjin. At that moment, Tamaangi comes running up to them, yelling that real pirates have arrived. Usopp wants to run away and have a snack, but after the urging of the Usopp pirates he goes out to face them. When Luffy, Zoro, and Nami hit land, Usopp comes out to greet them, introducing himself and saying he has 80 million men to squash them. Nami sees right through his lie, and Usopp freaks. He then puts a pinball in his slingshot and aims it at Luffy, saying his slingshot is better than a pistol. Luffy and Usopp stare at each other, and Luffy quotes Shanks, telling Usopp that they are real pirates and that he should bet his life on it. Usopp cracks, saying the speech was intimidating, and Luffy mentions getting it from Shanks. Usopp recognizes Shanks, and Luffy brings up Yasopp, Usopp's father, about how great of a sniper he is. Usopp brings them to a restaurant, and Luffy continues to talk about Yasopp, how he tells stories about Usopp and how well off he is. Nami then asks if there's any way to get a ship in the village, but Usopp says no. Zoro points out the large mansion on top of the hill, but Usopp quickly runs away. At the mansion, Kaya and Klahadore, her butler, talk about Usopp, and Klahadore forbids her from seeing him. Usopp comes anyway, and he tells Kaya a story about fighting a giant goldfish with droppings the size of islands. Back at the restaurant, the Usopp pirates come in to fight Luffy and company, but are tricked into thinking Luffy ate Usopp. After that is cleared up, they bring Luffy, Zoro, and Nami to Kaya's mansion, and tell them how Usopp tells Kaya lies to cheer her up since her parents died and she became ill. Luffy decides they should ask her for a ship, and as there are bodyguards guarding the gate, he uses Gomu Gomu no Sari to intrude to launch himself and others over the fence. They crash into the ground near Usopp, and as they get up, Klahadore comes out and calls them intruders. Elsewhere in the town, a peculiar man is moonwalking as the episode draws to a close.